Welcome to the Bernard Lee Poker Show here on May 17th. We will take a little bit of a break from the 15th anniversary celebration. And we're going to have another guest on, but unfortunately, last week on May 12th, the gentleman that, if you're watching YouTube, you can see the picture right behind me, Warren Griffith, aka Grumpa, unfortunately passed away. I had written about a story about him on ESPN about all of his health issues, but how poker had really kept him alive, in his own words. About a year and a half ago, his best friend, Ken Tilden, passed away due to complications of COVID. But Grumpa succumbed to many of his ailments, including diabetes, and he's had numerous heart attacks and strokes. And unfortunately, he is not with us anymore. This week, I really wish all the best for his family. And I hope for people who are outside of the poker area of Massachusetts to please indulge me, because I'd like to pay tribute to a good friend. We have other people that are going to be talking about him as well. Chad Holloway from Pokernews. Also, a little snippet from Pokernews that I put together with the editors at Pokernews. We also have David Tedesco, who was very good friends with Grumpa, and also Ken Tilden. We have Mark Stiles from Blaycation, as both of those gentlemen went on a Blaycation trip, and Mark got to know them very, very well. And BJ Ellis, a gentleman here from Massachusetts that knew Grumpa well. So when we return, we will have the tribute for Warren Griffith here on the Bernard Lee Poker Show. Welcome back to the Bernard Lee Poker Show. We did a show like this about a year and a half ago, and it was a very emotional and a very sad time, but it was also great to remember memories of a very good person. Last time we did it for Ken Tilden. This time, one of his dearest, if not best friends, Warren Griffith, aka Grumpa. Just so people know, he was a fixture here in Massachusetts, and I hope everyone who is listening can indulge me. I know this is not something that a lot of people will know who he is, but people in this area where I am from know him very well. I have known him for many years, and we're going to have a lot of people on the show today to talk about their memories of Warren Griffith, just to give a little sense of why Grumpa, his grandkids, obviously called him Grandpa, but he was sometimes quote unquote grumpy in his kind of special brusque way. And so that's kind of how Grumpa came about. This gentleman who's going to kick off our discussions with him did an article about Grumpa in Pokernews as he and Ken Tilden came to Blaycation and the World Series of Poker, and got to know him pretty well, as every time Grumpa came into Las Vegas, which wasn't a lot, but did definitely asked about this gentleman, wanted to talk with him, and was very happy about the column that he wrote for him in Pokernews. So welcome back to the show, Chad Holloway. Chad, thanks for joining us and remembering Grumpa.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bernard. I wish it was, one of our more jovial chats about the WSOP or something instead of the circumstances, but I definitely wanted to, share some stories and memories about Grumpa upon hearing of his passing, which of course is very sad to hear. And he was a true character of the game, and I'm very grateful that I got the chance to meet him and have some interactions with him.
Yeah, he just loved the game. He had health issues. I wrote a story about him on ESPN. I remember telling my ESPN editors, and they're like, this is just an unbelievable story this guy has gone through. And he even said, poker pretty much kept him alive because it was something of interest to him. And then when he came to the World Series, it was a kid in a candy store. And you did that column on him. Talk a little bit about what the interaction that you had with him initially. I know you had multiple ones, but initially, what kind of feelings came from him as he was talking about it?
Yeah, the first time I ever met him was back in 2015. As you mentioned, the Blaycation experience, and it was a fun a day for me that I got to spend with the entire group that
Right.
had come together for the Blaycation. But it was two people, honestly, who really stood out that I remembered from that and kind of kept in touch with, or at least kept tabs on throughout the years. And that was Grumpa and Kenny Tilden, who has passed away as well, unfortunately. So it was the two of them, old friends. They just, I don't know, they just reminded me of what me and my friends might be when we get older, and
Yeah,
just
yeah,
the
yeah.
love of poker. And so that was my first, meeting of them. And I remember it was, there was a dinner. You guys put on a great experience for everybody with Blaycation, and it was at the dinner where I actually had some one-on-one time. But I'll always remember my favorite, where I'm like, okay, I like this guy because he was incredibly funny. He had an incredible kind of wit to him, and there was one moment where, and I was following the group around, and you had them at the ESPN feature table, and you one of the things that you were great at was lining up visitors. And in this particular case, it was Poker Hall of Famer Maury Escandani, who is, basically the man behind the WSOP as far as TV and broadcasts go. And so here they are, Grumpa and others sitting at the final table up there with Maury Escandani. And Maury says, welcome to the WSOP. I hope you enjoy yourselves. Don't let people push you around, shove back on them, but just enjoy yourself. And Grumpa kind of interrupted, and he pointed at a seat at the final table, and he said, I'm seat 5, as in, like, I'm going to be at seat 5 when I'm at this final table. And Maury Escandani turned around and he quipped, well, make sure I'm in seat 6 because he looks dangerous. And everybody burst out laughing, including Grumpa. And yeah, that was a moment I'll always remember.
Yeah, I remember you saying that because I remember him, kind of indirectly interrupting our whole thing. But Grumpa would always do that as a joke, some kind of joke that would come about. And, he just always loved he was like a kid in a candy store when he came out to the World Series. It was a dream come true for him to come out and play in the Colossus and then play in some side events as well and go around, etc. And it was, like you said, it was like they jokingly called them their poker wives, him and Kenny back and forth, and how they interacted with each other. And they just loved it, and he had issues with regards to his health, obviously, but he survived and survived for many years. And unfortunately, the poker gods kind of wanted him to join the game up there, and I'm sure Ken was there with open arms. But sad that it came past. Also, we were in 2017. Grumpa was supposed to come to, I think, another Blaycation, but he wasn't able to do it because he wasn't feeling well. Another one of his episodes, and we were able to put together some videos. I was able to go around and talk with a lot of the pros: Daniel, Maria Ho, Greg Raymer, Jason Mercier, etc. And we made a video together, and Pokernews was kind enough to show it. And then we filmed it. Actually, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see behind me this picture. We brought it to his house in Bourne, Mass. He sat on the porch, and we showed him the video. And needless to say, you can see him. He was pretty much in tears with it. And I thank you guys for allowing us to do that, and for you guys to put it out there in an audience. And it shows, I think, to me, it was like that you felt it was special. He was special enough to warrant that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think poker, especially us at Pokernews, we focus so much on the big name pros sometimes that we got to remember that it is about the fans a lot too. And those people who just have a love for poker, that they're never going to play poker professionally, but it is what they want to do in their free time. It's their hobby, it's their enjoyment. And I think Grumpa really encapsulated that. Right. As you said, he had such a passion for poker, and you've seen it. And a kid in a candy store is a great way to describe it. And so when you meet a guy who's a character and has that sort of passion and just that sort of life experience, right? He just had been through a lot in his lifetime, and he still came out there and had this upbeat attitude about poker. Those are the type of people you want to really shine a light on and profile in this industry, because that's what it's all about.
Right. And in a lot of respects, these are the moments for us as journalists to find a story like this, right? Like Norman Chad would say it all the time. He'd walk around trying to find the story. And it's hard when you're trying to find it. This one just kind of fell in your lap because you're walking around. Really, the story, when you were walking around, I had mentioned our Blaycation the first time that we had done it, and you said, "Hey, can I just follow you around?" It wasn't about Grumpa and Kenny; it was more about Blaycation. But like you said, the story just kind of fell into your lap because of these two guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, if Grumpa was around in 2003, 4, 5, and happened to make a deep run in the main event like you did yourself, can you imagine like how big of a celebrity
Yeah.
he would have became in the
Right.
poker industry?
Right. Like the story, of him being that gruff guy and still making it, and that's the fun of it all. Yeah, him and Ken were really so tight and did so much, and he will really be missed, unfortunately. And we really appreciate you coming on, Chad, and talking about him and remembering the great time that he had out in Las Vegas. And again, we thank you. You wrote such a nice column about Blaycation and mentioned those two guys. And thank you for allowing us to show the video. And so right now here on YouTube, we're going to show it. On radio, you can listen to it. I'll put the link in the description of this YouTube video as well if you want to see it. But hopefully you will enjoy the video that they did. Chad, thanks for joining us here as we celebrate Grumpa's life.
Thank you, Bernard.
Hello everyone, you're watching Pokernews.com and welcome back to our coverage of the World Series of Poker. Now last year we introduced you to a very special poker player, Grumpa. He was a double amputee who was checking just one thing off his bucket list with Blaycation by spending some time here at the Rio with us. Since then, he's experienced a few setbacks and we just wanted to let him know that we miss him.
Hey Grumpa, why aren't you out here? Well, I miss you. Get well and get better, and I'll see you next year.
Hey, Grumpa. Hope you get better soon. We'll see you at the World Series final table next year.
Hey, Grumpa. I heard you weren't doing so well. I hope you feel better, man, and this one's for you, buddy.
Hey, Grumpa. It's Maria. I just wanted to say that we miss you this year at the World Series. We heard you're not feeling so good, but we hope you feel better, and we'll see you next year.
Hey, Grumpa. Hope you're feeling good. Hope you're feeling better. Wish you all the best. I'll see you next year for sure here at the World Series. Just feel better, man. All the best. See you.
Hey, Grumpa. This is Ryan Reese. I heard you're sick. I will be praying for you. I hope you feel better soon, and I'll see you soon.
Hey, Grumpa. It's Greg Raymer. I hear you're having a little health issue right now, and I hope you get better soon. I met you last year and want to see you again this year at the tables, kicking ass and winning pots.
Grumpa, I hope you enjoyed all those snippets. Thanks to Poker News for putting this all together. Look forward to seeing you soon, and we definitely look forward to seeing you at the World Series next year.
Bracelet next year.
I don't like that, buddy.
Oh, I don't. That was terrible. That brings tears to my eyes. Oh, God. It was such a great trip.
Well, we have another guest here to talk about our dear friend. David Tedesco knew Grumpa or Warren Griffith very well also and wanted to say a few words. So David, thanks for joining us here. Once again, under unfortunate circumstances, as you did previously when we had our memorial for Ken Tilden as well. But talk a little bit about Grumpa and your times with him.
Well, the funny thing is I can't actually remember the actual time that I met Grumpa, which is pretty much the case for Kenny. In fact, it might have been together. All I can remember is that it was about 15 years ago. And one day Grumpa was just there at the table. And then a day or two later, I was playing poker somewhere else and Grumpa was there. And then a week later, I was playing poker somewhere else and Grumpa was there. And so pretty soon I was linked up with Grumpa and Kenny, and we started playing in each other's home games.
Right.
And that was really very frequently too. And
Yeah.
all kinds of poker rooms and Foxwoods and all over the place. I kind of was the third wheel usually. On a
So,
bicycle.
so talk a little bit about, his personality. We all talk about, for people who don't know, why Grumpa. I think the story is his grandkids, grandpa, and him being quote unquote grumpy. So that's kind of how Grumpa came about. But talk a little bit about him as a person and your interactions with him.
Okay, well, first let me say that I imagine your other guests are talking about them knowing Grumpa through poker, but to tell you the truth, I also knew Grumpa through cribbage.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And what happened was we were playing poker quite regularly, and Kenny retired from his job with the state.
Right.
And so all three of us were free during the day with a lot of time on our hands. And so we started to say, well, what are we going to do? We don't want to play poker three-handed. So we decided we were going to play cribbage. Now, the problem was Kenny was a little rusty at cribbage, and I didn't know how to play.
Right.
So Grumpa kind of takes me under his wing and says, I'm going to teach you how to play cribbage. And I didn't know at the time what a great cribbage player he was. In fact, my understanding is he once won a cribbage tournament back before the days that we were playing in poker tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
And so he started to teach me to play, and Kenny was just sitting there kind of picking it up again. And that went on for about a week. And Grumpa he was so good, he started to teach me the set of rules that he knew, or axioms to follow that he claimed were taught to him by his teacher. I'm not certain, it might have been his mother.
Okay.
But I'm not positive about that. And there were things like he kept repeating them over and over again, and they've kind of etched in my brain. Simple rules like lead with a card under 5 in value, and there were a lot of these rules, and I'm not going to list them all because
you don't want to give away your secrets.
Well, I know he thought they were kind of secret rules, and the one I told you is kind of a common one. Kenny and I wanted him to write a book.
Oh,
but that never happened. He just wasn't interested in that. So after a while, Grumpa says, well, let's you and I just play a game heads up.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, oh God, I'm gonna get run over here.
Right.
So we started to play, and much to my surprise, I win the game.
There you know.
So later, after they have left, I'm thinking about it, and I say, wait a minute, Grumpa broke a lot of his rules during the game.
Right.
And it dawns on me, he threw the game to me. He was trying to build up my confidence at his expense.
Yeah.
That's the kind of something like that for you to help you along, and giving others a lift when they needed it was just part of his character. So that was part of my experience with him as a cribbage player. Of course, we did play a lot of poker too. And was Grumpa a good poker player? Yes, he definitely was a good player. Very good. But I have to tell you, I never saw a guy with such tough luck. I played thousands of hands with him or watched him play them. And I never saw so many bad beats in my life. Not the next 5 other people put together. So you think he'd be discouraged by this. And he let out this groan from deep down in his gut, like that. But that was it. He would get past it. He'd move on. And before long, he was up for the next hand, the next game, the next tournament. moving on. I have to tell you, Grumpa and Kenny and I had a little joke between us, a little story joke between us. And we decided that someday we would be retired and we would enter the same nursing home, the three of us. But the real joke was Kenny and I were older than Grumpa.
Right.
So we figured we'd have to depend, we'd be in wheelchairs and we'd have to depend on Grumpa with his titanium legs to push us around and shove us up to the table so that we could play. We had no doubt at all that he would be willing to do that. No doubt at all that he'd be willing to help us, even in his condition. You could always count on Grumpa. But things didn't play out the way our little joke story had planned. It doesn't matter. If you were lucky enough to know Grumpa, your life was automatically better for it. There is a saying in poker, I'm sure you know it, Bernard. It goes, you have to play the cards that you are dealt. No one played his cards better than Grumpa. He played a great game of life with the cards he was dealt. I'll never forget him or forget the lessons he taught me.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it. He really was dealt a lot of bad hands in life, but I think that the way you described it, he always just took everything in stride, because he would always jokingly say to me, he's like, I'm on a free roll kind of thing, with all of his health issues that he's had and moved on. And, he, like you said, he'd always lighten the room up. He'd always be kind of like a different soul that would always make everyone happy. And David, I really appreciate you sharing that story about cribbage. It's obviously different than the poker world, but you, Kenny, and Grumpa obviously had a real good friendship, the Three Musketeers kind of, and really appreciate you providing some additional stories and context to Grumpa. And as I've said before, rest in peace, Grumpa.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
I appreciate it, David. Thanks so much. And when we come back, we're going to have more with other people talking about Grumpa, including Mark Stiles, who is part of Blaycation, where Grumpa went on a trip with him. We'll talk with BJ Ellis as well, who knew Grumpa for over 2 decades. But we'll talk with more people when we return here as we tribute a good man, Warren Griffith, aka Grumpa, here on the Bernard Lee Poker Show. Welcome back to the Bernard Lee Poker Show. We are continuing our tribute for our good friend, Warren Griffith, aka Grumpa. And this gentleman worked with me with regards to a company called Blaycation, which is bucket list vacation. And we have done some trips to the WSOP and brought in several people to kind of tour the World Series of Poker. We still do it, but a few years ago, we had several of these going on. And we're very fortunate that Grumpa was a guest, I think, a couple times during our trips. Welcome to the show, President of Blaycation, Mark Stiles. Mark, thanks for joining us here for our tribute to Grumpa.
Well, thanks very much for having me. I'm really glad to be called. He was quite a special guy. One of the favorite all-time guests that we ever did on Blaycation, without a doubt.
Right. If we had to have a Hall of Fame for the Blaycation, Grumpa and Ken would definitely be the first 2 inductees, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Of course, Mike Sexton would be right there as well.
That's right. 100%. And hopefully those 3 are playing and shuffling right now, shuffle up and dealing right now. Talk a little bit about your experiences with Grumpa and what made him so special.
Sure. I mean, the very first time I met Grumpa, I had no idea that he was in a wheelchair. I mean, literally, he came off the plane. He had lost his legs through diabetes, I believe, and And but that didn't matter. You know, the personality, the amazing attitude he had, and he had this sense of, I can't believe I'm here.
Right.
I can't believe that you're going to take me around the World Series of Poker, Bernard, and you're going to show me like people that I've never met before. You're going to introduce me to my heroes. So he had this wonderment of a child near the, you know, but yet he was in an old man's body, and he was genuinely happy to be part of the experience. So to me, it was very heartwarming to take him around, to become good friends with him, to have him bust my balls regularly. Regularly, yeah.
Right.
You know, sorry, Bernard, one more thing I want to say is
go ahead.
His depth of knowledge in the poker community and his knowledge of hands, his interest in asking questions around how he should have played this hand or that hand was really special, because, you know, you could just picture that he was sitting at a table and playing, you know, in his mind from an experience that he had before, wondering how he replay that moment. And he wanted to get your take on it. And he was just genuinely interested in learning at that age of his life too.
Right. No, and like you said, he had this combination of love of poker, loving, like you said, busting your balls, and having that kind of, you know, joy. And really, when we started this Blaycation idea of bringing people to the World Series, he really, you know, is that summary of the whole thing of just absolute a kid in a candy store, but in the world of poker. And really that kind of summed it all up. And obviously we've had Chad Holloway, who wrote a column about those two gentlemen, and Pokernews did a little video as well. I wrote that column on ESPN, and really it's just a joy for him. He had such an unbelievable story. And like you said, he's double amputee, difficult time walking or put in a stroller, but that didn't stop him and that didn't slow him down. And you know, you got to hang out with him a good amount, really.
Well, I remember one day Ken, his good friend Ken and Kenny Tens, and God rest his soul, passed away as well. And Grumpa were together, and they were roommates. So Ken was helping Grumpa out, and I was basically their personal concierge for a long period of time. So we would, he would walk. He had a walker, and he had legs that he would walk on, and he walked forever. If you know about the World Series, it's all over Las Vegas, and specifically at the Rio, it's a lot of walking. Right. Well, at the end of the one day, he had he had sores worn in his legs. And then only then, after 2 or 3 days of Ken, you know, or Grumpa, you should really, maybe let's get you in a chair. Right. And then he said, all right, we'll go to the chair just because you want me to, you know?
Yeah.
He was such a great character, and I really, really miss him.
Yeah, no, and like you said, like he was obviously a little slower because he had to walk with artificial legs. And so a lot of times how we broke it up that trip was I would take the lead with our other guests, and they would be a little bit further behind, but then you would kind of bring up the rear, and ultimately you would hang out a lot with them. So I know you hung out a lot with them. You had a couple of meals with them as well. And Grumpa and Ken always talked very highly of you because they loved, you know, because you spent a lot of time. Like you said, you were literally their personal concierge. You obviously was the personal concierge for everyone, but because you literally were walking with them everywhere because of kind of how we did it. I was in the front, you were in the back. It just worked out. And I appreciate you spending time with our good friend.
Anytime, Bernie, anytime.
Yeah, well, Mark Stiles, we really appreciate you sharing your thoughts of this really one-of-a-kind gentleman. That's really what it comes down to. Warren Griffith, aka Grumpa. Mark Stiles, thanks so much for sharing your thoughts on this tribute day.
Thanks very much, Bernard. Appreciate it.
Mark Stiles here. We'll continue with our next guest, BJ Ellis. Well, we are continuing our tribute to our good friend Warren Griffith, aka Grumpa. And we have another good friend of his, BJ Ellis. BJ, thanks for joining us here on the Bernard Lee Poker Show, my friend.
Not a problem. I really enjoy you doing these little things, and sometimes it's very heartful. But yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had to do this about a year and a half ago for a good friend, Ken Tilden. Unfortunately, a year and a half later, his best friend, we're doing it again. The funny thing that I would say is, to kind of lighten the mood, is I don't think if anyone ever had to make a bet that Grumpa would last longer than Ken, we would
Correct.
never have imagined that.
Not at all.
Who would have imagined? Right? I wrote a column about him on ESPN on the numerous strokes that he had, and the difficulty and the diabetes and the amputations, and he was just such a trooper, and really said that in a lot of respects, poker saved his life because it was kind of meaning and purpose. You've played with him for years. Tell us a little bit about your, thoughts about him and what Grumpa meant to kind of you and poker.
Well, as far as the poker itself, he let me know that it's a fun game, not just a strategy or something that you've got to do for money. It's a fun game, and you can have fun doing it, but you can also instigate each other doing it. He would always tease me about jacks, and if he had jacks, I could never beat him to jacks. I don't know why. I could have pocket aces, and he would crack them with his jacks, and he did. He would catch a jack on the river or something, and it's that. There you go, BJ, got you again. And teasingly, if I was sitting next to him, I would kick his leg. Say, good, try that, because that's not going to bother me.
That's right.
So, I mean, he really was a fun person to be around, with all his health problems, all his, I hate to say it, but his heart attacks. It didn't bring him down. If anything, it made him stronger. He always had a smile on his face. My wife and I would visit him at some of the facilities, and when we would walk in, he says, "Oh, you two are here again. If you don't have cards, get out of here." So one of the times I actually brought a deck of cards.
That's great. That's awesome. Right.
And then he started a game with the people in the facility. So cards was fun for him, and it, like you're saying, it actually kept him going strong. And when we would get together, because I would pick him up and go to Ken's house, or I would actually pick him up and go up to New Hampshire a couple of times and meet Ken up there, he would love to talk about his great-grandchildren and grandchildren. I mean, up and the chat back, we would talk about our grandkids. And
that's really that's how he got his nickname Grumpa, right? Because they would jokingly say Grandpa, but you're always grumpy, and that's why it kind of became Grumpa, right?
Right. Yes. I'm not exactly sure of the whole facility of the Grumpa name. Because I never saw a Grumpa, a grumpiness. I'm sure he acted it.
Sure.
He this and everything, but I never saw that on his side.
Right. I mean, he was just such a, he was just very funny. He had that brusque, kind of personality, but it was always in jest and always in fun. And he just loved poker. He just really enjoyed it and did it. When's the first time you ever met him?
Oh, wow. That would have to be at Ken's house in Brockton, at least 25 to 27 years ago.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
really?
My son was not even born at the time.
Wow.
And when I know my mind is bad. I got to go by my children's ages to remember items.
There you go.
My son who's turning 20 or just turned 20. I know he wasn't born then. And that's when I met Ken and Grumpa and some of the other guys up there at Ken's house and started in Ken's game. It was like every third month he'd try and get a game going. So I got on the list, and it took a while to get on the list. I had to wait for someone to, I'm sorry to say this, pass, because he had a big list.
Yeah.
So I was standing for a while, and then finally I got in on the actual list of the call every time he had a game come up.
Right.
And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all of the players. There was Candyman, Dave, and then you got the Alarm Man. I mean, nicknames. And I mean, I know BJ's a nickname, but it's just short for Bert Jr. And a lot of people laugh at that, but that's what it is. And I mean, he was great to be around. like I said, I would pick him up every now and then on my own. There was one time that my son had an outing that I couldn't go to. And my wife said, hey, I got nothing to do. I'll take him. I'll play in your spot. So she picked up him, brought him to Ken's house, played at Ken's house, ended up playing in a cash game with him until 2 or 3 in the morning. And then on the way home, Grumpa says, hey, is this going to be a problem with you and BJ? That I have you out until this late in the morning? Am I going to have a problem with him next time I see him? She goes, oh, no, he knows you. He knows me. This is going to be a good night.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
I mean, that was
That's
him.
great.
I mean, they say it was grumpy, but he was actually very caring and was thinking of everybody.
Yeah.
Ken's wife, he was always talking highly of Janice.
Right.
You know, how she
Right.
was good to Ken, and that made it good for him because Ken was allowed to go off with him.
Right.
Because of his situation at home with his legs and a wheelchair and everything, he needed people to take him places. So yeah.
Right. And when
Ken couldn't do it, I would try and step in, and I'm so grateful I had the time with him. I wish I had more.
Yeah.
I would do blow-bys on his house on my motorcycle. There was only one time that he was sitting out on the porch that I was able to stop at and sit there and talk with him for about an hour.
Wow.
He said, you got to get home to your wife, your lovely wife. You got to get home to her, and I got to get in.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, we just spoke with Mark Stiles from Blaycation. It's kind of the tour group that Mark and I have done for the World Series, and Grumpa came with Ken, and Grumpa just raved about it. Pokernews wrote about that as well. We talked with Chad Holloway earlier about that experience, and it was just one of those things where it's funny, we talk about Ken, but the stories that Grumpa had, it just became unbelievable stories for people who don't know. I'll put it in my YouTube page. I'll put the description below and the links. I wrote a column on ESPN.com, and I know that he loved that. We did a video for him on Pokernews, and he was thrilled. Actually, the picture, if you're watching on YouTube behind me, that's actually us showing him that picture.
That's
that
right.
Video.
It was tearful. I mean, he talked to us about that. He said, I had trouble controlling myself sitting there with Bernard. I said, well, hey, we all had trouble controlling ourselves seeing that video. So don't worry about it.
Right.
So and I know that one of his stories that he used to love telling me, and he says, it's gonna happen, was when he had a chance to just sit and talk with Daniel.
Yep.
And they found out that they both loved pool.
Yep.
And that Grumpa was a big pool, not a shark, but a good pool player in Brockton area, and he ran tournaments and everything. And he was always hoping to get that one game with Daniel. He was always talking about having that one game with Daniel.
Right.
So
yeah,
I guess in a sense, that's my way of saying that if you got something you want to try and do, try and get it done. You don't know. Life is too short, and Grumpa was too young.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, just like Ken was too young too.
Yeah, 100%. Well, you know that they're right now playing Heads Up.
Oh,
probably
I know they're calling each other that. I can't say. I'm not going to say it online. But they used to call each other.
Probably Ken already got 3 or 4 other people in the last year and a half, and now Grumpa just joined the game. So
that table's getting too full up there. It's getting
exactly.
Too full.
Unfortunately. So, well, we wish them all the best. BJ, thanks so much for joining us, sharing your experiences and your thoughts, and rest in peace to Grumpa.
Yes, rest in peace. And we're all thinking of you, and we're all thinking of your wife too. And
absolutely.
It's very, very heartwarming.
Absolutely.
So,
well, BJ, thanks so much.
Time.
Appreciate it. And we will talk to you soon. And we'll continue our coverage here of our tribute to Warren Griffith, aka Grumpa. This last video is the video I took for Ken Tilden's tribute, where Warren Griffith spoke about his dear friend, and just kind of wanted to share with you their special friendship. And it's great to hear Grumpa's voice for one last time as we tribute this great man. Well, welcome to the Bernard Lee Poker Show. As we finish out 2020, unfortunately, this is not a show I would like to do, but it is definitely something for me to memorialize a very, very good friend of myself, and also this gentleman here. We are having a memorial for our good friend and a very well-known player here in New England, Ken Tilden. We are going to have several people join us. Chad Holloway from Pokernews, who wrote a column about Ken Tilden, and our guest, Warren Griffith, aka Grumpa. He'll join us right after we speak with Warren. And then later on our program, we're going to have the 2017 World Series main event champion, Scott Blumstein, and then also Jacob Zalewski, who is the president and founder of the One Step Closer Foundation, as they both talk about and remember Ken. But I think this person is probably the best person to have on to start our program. Some of you in the poker world who follow my writings may remember this gentleman. He was written up in a column that I did for ESPN. He is someone who is part of the poker world and was always a dear friend to Ken Tilden, his best friend, and AKA his poker wife, as he referred to him as, Warren Griffith, or better known as Grumpa. Grumpa, thanks for joining us here on the Bernard Lee Poker Show, my friend.
You're welcome.
It is not the call and or the interview that we'd like to have. Last time I interviewed you, obviously, it was for ESPN. But over the last couple of weeks, we have been calling each other back and forth, and I have been always on pins and needles and dreading when you call, because I'm so fearful that you're going to give me bad news. But unfortunately, I was the one that delivered the call to you. Ken passed away last Wednesday of COVID-related symptoms. Tell me a little bit about when you first met Ken and your friendship.
It was just 20 years ago, almost to the day, 20 years ago. We met at a bar room in Brockton for a poker game.
Yeah.
It was a barroom poker. And I met him there. And then I went to his house for a game he was doing with another friend. And after that, me and Ken became almost inseparable. I mean, we just both love poker so much. We traveled quite a bit of the United States, Vegas, all of New England, anywhere there was a poker game, me and Ken would be at. And I'm going to be sorry if I cry in the middle of this. I got tears coming.
No, understandable.
But I remember all the days, every game I've ever had with great, great, great gentleman.
Yeah.
A scholar, very smart man, taught me a lot. I taught him more, but I taught him poker. So, but
well, this behind me is, I'm going to move out of the way, is a picture of you two and myself in Vegas during one of the trips that you guys went there. You also did some videos while you were out there through Pokernews and ESPN, and people jokingly referred to those. And as I said before, you had jokingly said that he was your poker wife, right? Because you guys were so close to each other and you were there all the time. Talk a little bit about, not only your friendship, but really, he kind of helped take care of you at times as well, right? When you're out playing. Because to put in perspective, I wrote a column about Grumpa in 2017, and it was entitled 11 Heart Attacks and One WSOP Dream. Grumpa, to put into perspective for people, has had multiple heart attacks and multiple strokes as a diabetic. And unfortunately, both of his legs have been amputated. And so it's a little bit difficult for you to get around. But Ken was always there to help you out, right?
Always. Never missed a time. He'd help me upstairs, anywhere I had to go. Thought nothing of grabbing my wheelchair and bringing that along. I like to walk, but it got to be that I'm no longer walking. I'm in a wheelchair or a push cart.
Right.
But Ken was always right there every day. Every day, him and I would talk.
Yeah, yeah.
So he was just like my wife. That's why I call him my poker wife.
When's the last time you saw him face to face?
Actually, pretty close to 2 months ago.
Yeah.
He was, because of the COVID.
Right.
I've been in isolation for going on 6-7 weeks now.
Right.
I haven't been out of this house. Only because I'm scared if I get it, I'm a dead man. There's no two ways about it.
Right.
And I'm just trying to stay healthy enough. And God knows Ken has done that for me a million times, taking me out of problems with my health. A few heart attacks along the way, but nothing he had to take too much care of. But
Right.
Ken was always there, always there for me. He thinks he was teaching me to play poker, but he didn't really. I'm better at it than he is. I can say that now. He can't get mad.
What you guys love playing poker. Obviously, he would have his home game, and with regards to it, the recreation sometimes of the November 9 or the World Series final table and other home games as well. And you were part of those a lot of times, right?
I was. Every year he had them. As many as he had, I would be there. You also played.
I did. I played a couple of years. Yep, I did play a couple of years. Yeah.
You were the one I was tough. I couldn't beat you. I had everybody else, but I couldn't get you.
Yeah.
I did manage to take down 3 trophies, which
Wow.
I have. So I've won it a few times. So
Talk
any
a little
other
bit about
players out there?
You talk a little bit about the Vegas trips. You guys came out a couple times for our Blaycation, which was kind of like a tour of the World Series. But talk a little bit about those trips that you guys made, because really you were inseparable, right?
Yeah, we met you back here.
Right.
At some program that you were given telling us about how to play cards. I remember.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I took a very nice liking to you, as Kenny did.
Yeah.
He got lucky enough that he could go with you to Vegas quite a few times to help out. I can't do that. I'm just not able. But, where was I now?
Just talking about the trips that when we went out to
Oh,
Vegas.
the Vegas trip. We first went on with you on one of your trips.
Right.
Which was absolutely unbelievable. 5-6 days that we were there.
Right.
Anybody ever wants to go on one, I suggest they go. I had never seen so much and so many people I met and liked.
Right.
The poker world is a great world.
Yeah.
Everybody should love.
You and I know Ken hadn't been out in Vegas prior to that either. Since then he's gone out a lot of times, but prior to that, both of you guys hadn't been in Vegas, right?
I've been to Vegas, but he hasn't.
Yeah. Okay.
I knew where I was going, but he had no idea.
Yeah.
And it was great because it was 1960, the last time he was on a plane.
Right.
So
right.
He was scared to death going.
Yeah.
So fun to see because he was a sailor. He wasn't in the sky.
Navy man, right? Navy man.
Yeah, exactly. So.
No. What do you think? What about just talk a little bit about from your heart. Like, what did Ken mean to you?
Ken meant everything to me. Everything. I still don't know what I'm going to do without Ken. I think about going back playing cards, and yet I'm saying I can't go. Ken's not here. I don't know. Ken is, like I said, it really is like losing a wife. Mm-hmm. Although I haven't lost a wife, so I guess I can't say that. But Ken was such a great guy. And he came down to visit me all the time. He was also a motorcycle driver. He's got a beautiful bike. And he come down just to visit. We'd sit outside, talk for hours upon hours upon hours during the week. We were always on the phone together. Just a perfect gentleman.
Yeah. Well, he definitely, he loved poker too, right? I mean, he just absolutely loved. I know he loved playing cards and just talking poker, like you said, all the time, right?
That's all he wanted to do was play poker. If he could do that 24/7, he'd do it 24/7.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But it's always been a pleasure to talk to him, no matter when I talk to him, whether it be live, whether it be at a game, because I would a lot of times meet him at a game. We're coming from different directions.
Sure.
Yeah. He helped me through quite a bit. I got lucky enough to win a couple of big tournaments in Foxwoods, and Ken was there for me. You know, he just always seems to be around the poker world every day. So,
I mean, also the one thing about it is that no one has a bad word to say about him. Everyone says such nice things about him, and also what I've said a lot of times about him is that in today's day and age where it's very rare, he's really a man true to his word. You know, if he's going to say something, he'll follow through on it. You know, and a lot of people, unfortunately, they don't do that as much. And Ken was, if he said he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And if for whatever reason it wasn't the case, he'll let you know, hey, I couldn't get it done or whatever it was. No excuses.
He is one of a kind.
Yeah.
No two ways about it.
Yeah.
He's the whole world is going to miss Ken Tilden very, very much.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And all obviously best wishes to his wife and his kids and his family. I mean, great.
I hope they all know I love them.
Yeah. Well, they do. And great father, great husband, great grandfather, great friend, and obviously a great poker player. And we're all going to miss him.
Great everything. He was such a strange person. It's strange that he was lovable by everybody.
Right.
Everybody loved him.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Grumpa, I really appreciate you putting your heartfelt thoughts about a really great man. We'll miss him, and I really appreciate your time, my friend.
We thank you very much for having me. I talk about Kenny anytime. So.
Yeah. Well, we're going to also go ahead.
Hopefully I get back to play more cards with you.
Well, I really appreciate everyone coming on and giving us their stories and everything, a tribute to a good man with regards to Warren Griffith, aka Grumpa. I just wanted to kind of give a little closing and my thoughts. He was a great person. If you go to my story on ESPN, and it'll be, if you're on YouTube, it'll be linked on the bottom. He really had a tough life with regards to his health issues, 2 amputated legs, multiple strokes and heart attacks, and diabetes. But he really just had a good outlook on life. And as he said, poker really kind of saved his life. And it was really good to enjoy being with him. I'll also put the link of the Pokernews story that we kind of did for him and the videos I created for him. It was always fun to be around and just really enjoy. I really got to know him well on those Blaycation trips, and him and Ken Tilden both came on those trips, and we just had a lot of fun. And Grumpa always enjoyed playing, but he also just enjoyed being around people, and we're going to miss him. And so Warren Griffith, aka Grumpa, rest in peace, my friend. Thanks for all the good memories, and we will wish you many we thank you for all the good memories. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you everyone for indulging me. I know many of you don't know this gentleman, but here in the Massachusetts area, he was definitely well known and beloved. And we will continue next week with the 15th anniversary of the Bernard Lee Poker Show. We will have Greg Merson on as he celebrates his 10th anniversary. It's incredible. It's been 10 years. His 10th anniversary of his WSOP main event win here when we return next week on the Bernard Lee Poker Show. And for Grumpa, may you always go in with the best hand, and may you never get unlucky. Good night, everybody.